What is going on, Nuggets Nation NBA fans? My name is Tom Leuthner. Welcome back to another episode of Nuggets Today, brought to you by Underdog. If you guys did not know, we are officially sponsored by Underdog, so make sure, go ahead and click this QR code right here to download the app. We will have a promo code for you guys a little bit later on in this episode. So like I said, make sure to go ahead, download the app so you guys can get some free plays on Underdog in a little while. I do apologize for the setup. Like I did say, I believe I said at least last episode that I will be recording from a hotel room just because I need to stay in a hotel due to weather and where I work in the city. So the next few episodes may be in a hotel room, and I do apologize for that in advance. But the first thing I want to talk about is Tim Hardaway Jr. finally being able to get out of his slump last game. He finishes the game with 17 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. He missed his first few threes, which made him go in, I believe, the last 3 games. He was 0 for 21 in three-point attempts for this Denver Nuggets team, which was not great because you could tell the fatigue was kicking in a little bit, especially for a seasoned vet. And I talked about it a couple episodes ago now, that you could tell that it was sort of kicking in. And he was a guy who Denver was relying on pretty heavily to make shots for them, to be able to, dominate realistically off the bench, or when they started him, be a guy who was a reliable shooter. And in the last few games, he wasn't able to do that. And for some reason, Tim Hardaway wanted to be one of the high flyers for this Denver Nuggets team, throwing down a couple dunks, which is nice to see from him. But at the same time, you want to see him be able to hit as many shots as he can. But if he struggles now, I'm fine with that. If that means later on in the season, he's going to be a sharpshooter next to Nikola Jokic and Jonas Valanciunas, and he's going to be a guy that can get it done from the outside, especially in the playoff run if Denver is able to go deep, which it looks like right now that they may be able to. Like I said, he's a guy who Denver has been lacking, and they've been missing a guy like that, a sharpshooter, since Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was traded. And I know you could say AG was a shooter and CB was a shooter last year, but they were nothing like this. This guy's just a straight three-point shooter, a spark plug for that bench unit. Denver was drastically missing that. I know they had Russ last year, who was a super high percentage shooter from the corner, which also because of Jokic, if you ask me, which means that, in my opinion, Tim Hardaway Jr. could be 10 times better. So come late in the season, I'd rather him struggle now, be able to hit those when it really matters. Not that the games now don't matter because you're trying to hold a higher spot in the Western Conference, but overall, a massive game for this Denver Nuggets team. Now, when you look at this current trade market, before I get into some more Denver Nuggets talk, you look at the one guy that the Kings have been trying to move for a little bit. That's not Devin Carter, and that is Keon Ellis. A lot of people are very fond of Keon Ellis, and there were a lot of reports on them wanting to trade him and trying to get a first rounder for him. And I know that Ryan Blackburn talked about it a little bit. And the main point of concern was the fact that Denver doesn't really have a first-round pick to give up, and an offer, potential trade could be Julian Strawther and a second for Keon Ellis. And I don't think that they would say yes. But can Denver get him? I don't really know. I think that, like I said, it would probably be Strawther. But after this performance from Strawther, does Denver want to hold on to him, or are they trying to boost his trade value a little bit? You don't really know. I know that certain teams have been set in their ways. I know that the Knicks are set outside of the Yabusele move. I know that the Clippers said at this point they're set, and they don't really see, or Tyronn Lue at least, said he doesn't really see them making any moves. So maybe you don't see moves there from those two teams. But I was wondering if there's a real world where Denver can get a guy like Keon Ellis. I haven't been too fond of him this year, even though he is a good player. But I think that, Julian was a guy who proved what he could do for this Denver team when he gets that extended role. We saw what he could do last year in the playoffs. And I think that this team has been so heavily built off of the chemistry on this bench that's the reason they're winning games. They're not winning games because their roster is better than anybody. The Bucks roster without Giannis, I think, is still better than the lineup that they went against 2 days ago or 3 days ago now. So there's no real world where I look at this team and I go, this bench is so good. I think that they're playing so well because Jamal really forced them to go into this offseason working on that chemistry and making sure everybody was good together. But like I said, in a real world, I'm not too sure what the Keon Ellis move looks like. I would love for a 2-for-1 for a guy like even Yabu and being able to give Spencer Jones that contract. But at the same time, you probably have to worry about the extension for Payne Watson, so I'm not too worried about Denver making that move right now anyway. Now, before we continue with any Denver Nuggets talk, I do have a quick word from our sponsor. Fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are back, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. Playing an Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. You heard that right, 5,000 times your cash. Today, I'm actually looking at one game we haven't seen me talk about, I don't think, at all yet, and that is that this Denver Nuggets team goes against the Memphis Grizzlies. The two projections I want to look at, right? this Grizzlies team has a lot of down low competitors with Jock Landale, Jaren Jackson Jr., and they also have a pretty good offensive guard in Cam Spencer, somebody who's been a great overall guard in the absence of Ja Morant. I'm going to get into this game a little bit later. So the first thing I do want to take is the higher than 8.5 assists for Cam Spencer. I think that projection is great. He's a guy that wants to dish the ball, and he's going to pass. So all they have to do is knock down shots. Denver's defense is pretty good. A lot of players lacking. You're missing Aaron Gordon now for a little while. Peyton Watson, I believe, should be back. I'm not really sure of the injury report at the time of this recording. And the second projection I want to look at is Jock Landale, higher than 23.5 points, rebounds, and assists. The only reason I want to take this projection, especially the higher, is strictly because Denver's lacking that size. Even if Peyton Watson is back for this game, they just lose Aaron Gordon, which means the only two players that they have at the big man position are going to be Zeke Naji and Deron Holmes, which we'll talk about in a little while. So those are going to be my two projections. Download the app today and use promo code BASKETBALLFAN to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code BASKETBALLFAN. It's shown on your screen right now. Underdog, make picks, win money.
Must be 18 plus. 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska. 19 plus in Colorado for some games. 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/play and get terms DFSTML for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 helpline at 1-878 or text from 467-369.
Now that we're back, and I said I wanted to talk about the big man situation for Denver in the absence of Nikola Jokic and the absence of Jonas Valanciunas, and I want to talk about Deron Holmes. And the reason I want to talk about Deron Holmes is because I think he is the opposite of what Denver expected him to be. Now, I think Denver expected him to be a guy who was able to come in, block shots, play a little bit of a big man position for that Denver Nuggets team, especially in the absence of, potential absence of Nikola Jokic or Jonas Valanciunas or whatever the case may be. A guy who can play that big. He's 6'10", he can block shots. He's a little bit of a paint beast. He's the complete opposite. It's a weird situation because I think that you thought he was going to be the potential backup for Nikola Jokic in a few years, let him develop, which he can, but he gets babied in the paint, and that's why I was so high on the Jock Landale playing in that center position, being able to do whatever he wants down low realistically. But with the whole thing with Deron Holmes is he's a knockdown shooter. I think that he's going to be a slower 3 for now, which is crazy to say, but 6'9", 6'10" frame guy. He has a long wingspan, but that's why I'd like to see him on smaller opponents on the offensive side. I don't see him being that shot blocker that everybody, wants him to be. He grabbed 4 rebounds, which was the same amount as Hunter Tyson in the game. So, I mean, he's not the biggest player in the world, and Denver, I think, brought him in to be a big man, and we're not really seeing that from him. So I think a little bit of a weird position there for Denver, but I do love his three-point making ability. I know that his shots weren't amazing, went 1 for 3 from the three-point line, but at the same time, a young player still trying to get that experience in the NBA. Last thing I want to talk about is obviously Denver going against the Memphis Grizzlies. Ja Morant officially out for 3 weeks now, so it's going to be, I believe, a little bit of a battle for both teams. I don't really, like I said, at the time of this recording, I'm not sure the injury report, so I don't know what's going to happen with either team. But I just, if you're missing Ja Morant, it's going to be a tough battle. Jaren Jackson Jr. and Jock Landale could completely overtake this game if the Denver Nuggets don't get Zeke Naji and Deron Holmes in there at the same time to try to rebound. They're going to have to play side by side. I think that if you want to compete with a team like this, I believe Zach Edey's still out, so I don't really think that matters as much. But if he's not out, that's also going to be a problem for this Denver Nuggets team. So I think, like I said, it's going to be a world where you are fighting down low and you're trying to battle. Right now, looking at the injury reports, Santi Aldama is day by day, Ty Jerome is day by day, Brandon Clark is out, Ja Morant is out, Scottie Pippen's out, and Zach Edey is out. And for this Denver Nuggets team, Tamar Bates out, Nikola Jokic out, Cam Johnson out, Aaron Gordon out, day by day, or day to day rather, are Peyton Watson, Jonas Valanciunas, Jamal Murray, and CB. So there's a world where potentially Jonas Valanciunas does come back and play, but at the same time, I think with the Aaron Gordon injury, you might not want to play him just because you want him to be better for this playoff series. But if he does want to play and he wants to fight through it, even if it's only for 10, 15 minutes, go ahead and let him play. You're probably going to start him. He's going to go against Jaren Jackson Jr., Jock Landale, Peyton Watson. Like I said, he might be playing as well, so who knows what happens with that. But Denver could potentially battle with this team if Jonas Valanciunas does play. If not, then I think they're in a position where it's going to be an uphill battle and Denver has to fight even if Jamal does play. But that is all I got for you guys today, Nuggets Nation. Like I always say, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, as well as comment down below if you guys want me to cover anything. Go ahead, make sure you hit that or scan that QR code for the Underdog app and use promo code BASKETBALLFAN for $75 with your first $5 deposit. Great app, higher or lowers, Pretty easy to use. My favorite app to use. And again, big shout out to Underdog for sponsoring this episode. I'll catch you guys later.